Hi St. Lucie County first graders, Mrs. Tyson here. Today we're going to focus on reading. Remember, today is a Monday and we're going to do one 10-minute lesson, and Wednesday we'll do another 10-minute lesson, and it'll go right along with your Canvas lessons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to supplement anything that you're doing on Canvas, and I'm so happy that you're working so hard on your lessons, and I want you to continue your hard work. So let's talk about today's focus. So today's focus for learning is RL11. That's our standard. Ask and answer questions about key details in a text. So let's go over some of the vocabulary that we see in that standard. The first vocabulary is ask. So today I'm going to be asking you questions while we're reading along in the story together. Questions. So remember, when you ask yourself questions, that's what good readers do. We talked about that last time. So I want you to become good readers. We're going to ask questions together in the story and see if we can't answer them. So the key details are things or events that might happen in the story that we're going to talk about today. So boys and girls, what we're going to do today is we're going to ask ourselves questions as we read. So I want you to take a look at the 5 questions we're going to ask ourselves today, going along with our story. The first one is who. Say who with me. Who. Good. Remember, the who are the characters in the story. That's why I drew a little person here. So today we're going to look at who is in the story. The next thing we're going to look at is where and when. Remember, where has to do with a place, like a house, or when. When answers time. So today in our story, we're going to look at where is the story taking place and when is it happening. Okie dokie, you say artichoke. Okie dokie, artichoke. Good. All right, the next questions we're going to ask ourselves are what and why. Those questions have to do with our problem and solution. And remember, the character in our story, the main character, has a problem and another character helps them solve it, a solution. So let's go over the 5 questions again before we get started. Who? You try. Who? What? What? When? Good. Where? You try. Good. Why? Awesome. So I can't wait to get started with you. We're going to start with the dot. It's in your journey story. Don't worry if you don't have the book, because I have it and I'll be walking you along with it. And it's also in your Canvas lessons. So let's get started. Okay, boys and girls. So what we're going to do now is we're going to read the story, The Dot. Remember, put your reading brains on, because we're going to be asking ourselves questions and answering as we go. If you know the answer to a question, I want you to raise your hand, just like you would in your classroom. Okie dokie? Artichoke. Good, let's get started. So our story today is called The Dot. This is written by Peter H. Reynolds. We are looking for the who first. Say who. Who. Good. Art class was over, but Vashti sat glued to her chair. Her paper was empty. Vashti's teacher leaned over the blank paper. Ah, a polar bear in a snowstorm, she said. Very funny, said Vashti. I just can't draw. So why is Vashti upset? Good. She told her teacher she can't draw. So far there is 2 who's in the story, her teacher and Vashti. Good. Let's keep reading. Her teacher smiled. Just make a mark and see where it takes you. Vashti grabbed a marker and gave the paper a good, strong jab. There, she said. So raise your hand if you know the answer to this question. How would you describe Vashti's face on this page? Good. So she looks angry or upset. right? So that's her problem right now, is she can't draw and she's angry and upset. Let's keep reading to find out more questions. Her teacher picked up the paper and studied it carefully. She pushed the paper toward Vashti and quietly said, "Now sign it." Vashti thought for a moment. Well, maybe I can't draw, but I can sign my name. So remember, we talked about this. What is the problem in the story? Good. Did you raise your hand if you knew it? Awesome. So the problem in the story is Vashti can't draw, or she thinks she can't draw, right? Let's read on to see what happens. The next week, when Vashti walked into art class, she was surprised to see what was hanging above her teacher's desk. It was a little dot. She had drawn her dot, all framed in swirly gold. So, what surprised Vashti? Do you know the answer? Awesome. Did you raise your hand? Good. I saw you raise your hand. Awesome job. So what surprised her? You were correct if you said it was her art framed in swirly gold. So that little dot she drew became a piece of art, all because her teacher framed it in swirly gold frame. Good. Let's keep reading to see what happens. I can make a better dot than that. She opened her never-before-used set of watercolors and set to work. How do you think Vashti feels now? Raise your hand. Good. So she is no longer upset, but she has her arms folded and you can see her eyebrows are arched up. That means she is determined. So her feelings changed. She is determined to make a better dot now because she thinks she can do better. Vashti painted and painted. A red dot, a purple dot, a blue dot. The blue mixed with the yellow. She discovered she could make a green dot. Vashti kept experimenting, lots of little dots in many colors. If I can make big dots, if I can make little dots, I can make big dots too. Vashti splashed her colors with a bigger brush on bigger paper to make bigger dots. Vashti even made a dot by not painting a dot. At the school art show, a few weeks later, Vashti's many dots made quite a splash. So there's all her dots she drew. Vashti noticed a little boy gazing up at her. "You're a really good artist," he said. "I wish I could draw." "I bet you can," said Vashti. "Me? No, not me. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler." Vashti smiled. She handed the boy a blank sheet of paper. "Show me." The boy's pencil shook as he drew his line. We're going to answer this question at the end. I'm going to take this off. Vashti stared at the boy's squiggle, and then she said, "Sign it." So at the end, what did she do for the little boy? Good. She had the little boy sign his artwork, just like Vashti's teacher had her sign her artwork. So Vashti actually learned a lesson at the end of the story, and we're going to talk about that the next time we meet on Wednesday. So I want you to think about something. How did Vashti change in the story? Good. So at the beginning of the story, if we flip back to the beginning, she was very upset. She thought she could not draw. So there she is with her upset face. Okay? And that was actually our problem in the story. And then she became determined, right? That was at the middle. And at the end, she decided her mood changed, all because her teacher displayed her artwork, and she decided to help the little boy at the end of this story. So before we meet again, I want you're gonna play a little game with me. We're going to talk about the who. So thinking about the story we just read, who was in the story? Yay, awesome. If you said teacher, Vashti, and the little boy, you are correct. Where and when was the story taking place? Yay! If you said art class and school, you are correct. Awesome job. That story has more than one setting. What was the problem in the story? Awesome. Vashti thought she couldn't draw. Yay, boys and girls. Okay, and the solution. What was the solution? Or how did the character fix her problem? Awesome job. So the teacher encouraged Vashti and she realized she became an artist. Awesome job, boys and girls. Give yourself a big hug today. Good job. So next time when we meet, we're going to continue with the dot and we're going to talk more about the lesson that Vashti learned. You guys did an awesome job and I can't wait to see you on Wednesday. Bye.